Hello, everyone. My name is Becky Chicklese, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. Welcome to this presentation on emotional intelligence. This is my first webinar with all of you, so I am extremely excited to be here and to share some insights into emotional intelligence. During this presentation, we will explore what emotional intelligence actually is, why it is important to be an emotionally intelligent person, and how it can be helpful for you in daily life when interacting and communicating with others at home, at work, at school, etc., and how ultimately you can develop a greater and deeper sense of emotional intelligence if you feel there is work to be done with yourself. With that being said, let's start the presentation on emotional intelligence. So let's start with the big question here. What is emotional intelligence, or emotional quotient, as some of you might refer to it as? Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, interpret, demonstrate, control, evaluate, and use emotions to communicate with and relate to others effectively and constructively. This ability to express and control emotions is essential, but so is the ability to understand, interpret, and respond to the emotions of others. Essentially, emotional intelligence is the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, and to empathize effectively with the emotions of others. So, in simpler terms, it's about forging a deeper connection with our own emotions and those of others. So this quote on this slide I think is really great. So it's by Hannah Owen, who is a licensed social worker, and she sums up basically what emotional intelligence is, and I think in a really good way. So the quote states, quote, "While being book smart might help you pass tests, emotional intelligence prepares you for the real world by being aware of the feelings of others as well as your own feelings," end quote. And that is just so true, right? If someone is unaware of their own emotions and others' emotions and feelings, they will undoubtedly struggle to connect and understand with others and then to feel understood by those around them. You know, it's a two-way street. If you can't feel and connect with other people, you're probably not going to feel like there's any connection towards you. You'll feel potentially lost in the world. So now let's shift gears to discuss the components of healthy emotional intelligence. So overall, emotional intelligence components encompass about 5 areas that contribute to overall emotional intelligence. Those areas are, as you see on the slide, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So we'll go through each of them, and then we'll kind of go from there. So the first one is self-awareness. If you are self-aware, you're in tune with your own behavioral patterns and motives. You comprehend how your feelings and actions influence others and can articulate your emotions and the reasons behind them. Self-awareness also includes the ability to spot triggers, understand strengths, and acknowledge limitation. This trait goes hand in hand with having humility and acknowledging our shared human condition. The next one is self-regulation. So being able to self-regulate means your emotional responses align with the situation at hand, right? So it makes sense how you're responding with what's happening. So it involves being able to take a moment when needed, keeping impulses in check, and considering the outcomes before making decisions. Self-regulation also encompasses the skills to diffuse tension, navigate conflicts, handle challenging circumstances, and adapt to environmental changes. It's about nurturing the aspect of oneself that effectively manages emotions. The third core area here is motivation. If you're just basically at your core a motivated person, right? You're passionate about personal growth. You have a strong desire to excel as defined by your own criteria for success. The goal to achieve or the drive to achieve goals comes from your desire for that personal growth, not from external rewards like wealth or fame or prestige or even really acknowledgement. The fourth core area here is empathy. Those with empathy understand others' perspective without being self-absorbed. In conversations, these people can grasp another person's viewpoint and empathize with their experience. Even if they haven't been through that exact same situation, they can relate to it in their own experiences to understand and offer compassion. These people are patient in their judgment of others, and they understand that everyone is trying their best given the circumstances. The final one here is social skills. So individuals with well-developed social skills excel in team environments. They are compassionate of others' needs during conversations or conflict and resolution. They display open and inviting behavior using active listening skills, displaying strong verbal communication skills, and they keep body language welcoming and open. These individuals are skilled at building relationships and, if the situation warrants, demonstrating leadership. Now let's take a look at an additional 4 components of emotional intelligence and why they're important. So on the screen here, we have 4 components of emotional intelligence. So researchers suggest that there are 4 different levels of emotional intelligence, including emotional perception, the ability to reason using emotions, the ability to understand emotions, and the ability to manage those emotions. So we'll go through all 4 levels with examples and just some understanding of them, and we'll go from there. The first level is perceiving emotions. The first step in understanding emotions is to be able to perceive them accurately. In many cases, this might involve understanding nonverbal signals such as body language and facial expressions. So, for example, when you're trying to perceive emotions and do it accurately and make sure you understand what someone's saying to you and what someone's trying to convey to you, if the verbal and nonverbal cues, such as what someone's saying and their facial expressions, for example, don't match, there's obviously going to be confusion. You're not going to be sure which one to read and which one to think is true and what's actually happening. So there's going to need to be clarifying questions asked so the confusion and the disconnect is cleared up. However, if what someone is saying to you and their body language and their facial expressions and just any other nonverbal signal matches, there'll be less confusion in your mind and you'll be able to respond to them in the most appropriate way possible. The second one is reasoning with emotions. So this next step involves using emotions to promote thinking and cognitive activity. Emotions help prioritize what we pay attention and react to. So we respond emotionally to things that garner our attention, right? So if something grabs our attention emotionally, there's a better chance that we're going to respond to it and do it in a healthier way. And we're going to be able to use our cognitive abilities to think appropriately about what needs to be said. The third one is understanding emotions. So the emotions we perceive can carry a wide variety of meanings, right? I think that's understood. If someone is expressing angry emotions, the observer might interpret the cause of the person's anger and what it could mean, whether that's right or wrong. For example, if your boss is acting angry, it might mean that they are dissatisfied with your work. That's a possible reason. Or it could mean that they got a speeding ticket on their way to work that morning, or that they've been fighting with their partner, right? So we don't know exactly what someone is thinking and feeling and why they're expressing an emotion that they're expressing without understanding the emotion. So again, we have to ask clarifying questions. We have to be able to talk to them in the best way possible in order to understand more of what's happening so we know how to respond and we know what would be helpful. And the last one here is managing emotions. So, the ability to manage emotions effectively is a crucial part of emotional intelligence, and it's the highest level. So, regulating emotions and responding appropriately, as well as responding to the emotions of others, are all important aspects of emotional management. So, this gets deep down into emotion regulation, essentially. So, if you struggle with regulating your emotions, you're going to have a hard time responding to people, right? Because you're going to have a hard time thinking before you act. You're going to have a hard time making the right decision about what to say. You're going to say things from a gut reaction as opposed to thinking about them a little bit more. So these four are really important to getting at the crux of being an emotional intelligent person, which we'll discuss further in the presentation. So the four branches that we just discussed of this model are arranged by complexity, with the more basic processes at the lower levels and the more advanced processes at the higher levels. So for example, those lowest levels involve perceiving and expressing emotion, while the higher levels require greater consciousness and involvement and involve regulating the emotions, like knowing what to do once you get the emotion, you're expressing it, but now that you have to think about what to do and how you're going to regulate yourself and actually say what you want to say, that's the more complex part. So this next slide is helping us understand why emotional intelligence is useful, right? So emotional intelligence helps you build stronger relationships, succeed at school and work, and achieve your career and personal goals. It can also help you to connect with your feelings, turn intention into action, and make informed decisions about what matters most to you. People who have strong emotional intelligence are able to consider the perspectives, experiences, and emotions of other people and use this information to explain why people behave in the way that they do. So listed on the screen are 3 ways that having and developing emotional intelligence can be useful. So those 3 ways are thinking before reacting, having greater self-awareness, and having empathy for others. And we'll go through all these like we have done in previous slides. So the first is thinking before reacting. Emotionally intelligent people know that emotions can be powerful, but they can also be temporary. When a highly charged emotional event happens, such as becoming angry with a coworker or friend or family member, the emotionally intelligent response would be to take some time before responding. This allows everyone to calm their emotions and think more rationally about all factors surrounding the argument, right? So think about the last time you had an argument with somebody. Do you think you were being emotionally intelligent? Do you think you were using emotional intelligence in a useful way? If the answer was yes, that's awesome. If not, this might be a helpful way. Thinking before you're acting, taking moments to think about, like, what is actually going on right now? What am I fighting about? What am I arguing about? Am I arguing about what's actually happening in front of me? Or am I arguing about something that happened 2 weeks ago that I'm still kind of bitter about? Taking that time to think and take a break if you have to, walk away, write down what you're actually feeling. That's a good way to think before you react, because sometimes having those gut reactions of, oh, I'm shooting from the hip here and I'm not going to think about exactly what I'm going to say. The first thing that pops into my mind, I'm going to say it. Oftentimes, that's not the most helpful thing for the conversation. That has the ability to derail the conversation completely, or it has the ability to kind of bring you back to things that have, seemingly been resolved, or bring up new things that are completely unrelated to what's happening in the moment. So thinking before you react is a very proactive way to be involved in a healthy and productive conversation. So, the second way emotional intelligence can be useful is by helping someone develop a greater sense of self awareness. So, emotionally intelligent people are not only good at thinking about how other people might feel, but they're also good at understanding their own feelings. So, self awareness allows people to consider the many different factors that contribute to their emotions. So, these people understand that things don't happen in a bubble, right? Like, nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything and everyone impacts everything and everyone else, right? So, something that some random person may have said or did to you is going to impact how you respond to your spouse later that evening, or how you respond to your children, or how you respond to your friends. So it's all about understanding your own self awareness. It's digging in deep and understanding this is why this triggered me. This is why it's continuing to make me upset. This is why I'm responding in the way that I'm responding. This is why I feel misunderstood by people. You're being reflective and you're looking in on yourself and you're understanding, hey, you know what? I need to get more aware of what's happening and I need to be able to pick out these emotions and understand, is it this, am I feeling this emotion, or am I feeling something different and something deeper for many other reasons. So the final way emotional intelligence can be useful is through developing empathy for others, which is huge, right? A large part of emotional intelligence is being able to think about and empathize with how other people are feeling. This often involves considering how you would respond if you were in the same situation. So this is the whole if I were in your shoes moment, right? So it's important to be able to empathize with other people, because if you go through life just not having that ability or not caring to have that ability, it makes things very complicated for you. Because one, you might not get that same courtesy and response from other people if they know that that's just not how you operate. But two, it can make things very black and white for you, and black and white thinking is a hard thing, right? Because you don't see the gray area. You're not seeing like, oh, you know what? I probably would have responded in a similar way if I had to face this situation. Or, I could see myself doing this if I was faced with these challenges and these obstacles. Being able to show empathy not only shows that you're just, a person that can relate to others and, you're not just completely self-absorbed, but it also has the ability for other people to show you the same respect and the same courtesy. So now let's get into the interesting part with one of the questions that I have on this screen is, how do you know if you are an emotionally intelligent individual? So the following list sets forth, a very small amount of ways someone can measure whether they are emotionally intelligent. So here are some key signs of emotional intelligence. So the first one is an ability to identify and describe what you are feeling. So it's kind of what I was talking about before. Being able to pick an emotion, whether that's off the emotion wheel, whether that's off the anger iceberg, the grief iceberg, any number of the emotion tools that are out there, and be able to identify that and describe truly if that's what you're feeling. Like you have the ability to point to it and be like, yep, that's how I'm feeling, and this is why. Another way is an awareness of personal strengths and limitations, right? So you know what you're good at, you know how you're able to do it, why you're able to do it, you have confidence in that, but you're also aware of your limitations, right? You also are aware of, hey, you know what, I could use some help in this area, whether that's something like work or school, or whether that's something with like, hey, you know what, I struggle to identify my emotions, I struggle to process my emotions. You're understanding that you have strengths and limitations, they both exist, but they both can exist at the same time, and that's okay. Another part of knowing if you are emotionally intelligent is being able to have self-confidence and self-acceptance. Everyone has varying levels of, self-confidence and self-esteem, but being able to have a baseline level of it is super helpful, as well as having self-acceptance of who you are. Developing a healthy sense of self and self-worth is important here. Another way is being able to have the ability to let go of mistakes. So we all make mistakes. It's inevitable, right? So we have to be able to let go of those mistakes, acknowledge that they're happening, acknowledge that we made them, acknowledge any natural consequence that may have come from that mistake, but also not let that mistake paralyze you and get you stuck, and not let you think about different ways that you could change the mistake or fix the mistake or, make things better, and be able to keep going and growing and changing other people's lives and changing your own life. You don't want to get stuck in something. If you get stuck, that makes it hard to do anything else. A big part that goes with not getting stuck is an ability to accept and embrace change. So everything changes, right? We change, people around us change, our jobs change, the weather changes, everything changes. So being able to accept that that happens, that is just the fact. It's a fact of life. Being able to accept that, and then being able to embrace that change and not hide away from it, not let it stop you from doing what you have to do, is a powerful way to know that you are an emotionally intelligent person. Another way of knowing that is if you have a strong sense of curiosity, particularly about other people. Again, you're not self-absorbed, and you're able to have feelings of empathy and concern for others. So we've talked about this in previous slides, but being able to put yourself in other people's places, to have curiosity about their lives, to have curiosity about the things that are going on in their lives, how they're doing, how they're not doing, all things like that, shows that, again, you're not just completely looking in on yourself and that's it. It's good to be reflective, but it's also good to be able to see what's happening in other people's lives, to show curiosity, show care, show concern, things like that. And in line with that is showing sensitivity to other people's feelings. Some people have a hard time expressing themselves. So you being understanding of that and being able to adapt to various situations and change how you approach people is key to getting them to open up, and to being able to express that empathy if you need to. Being able to read the room, essentially, and being able to change how you respond and you react to certain things is another strong way to show that you're an emotional intelligent person. And then the final way that, is just listed here, again, this is a very short list, it's not comprehensive, is the ability to manage emotions in difficult situations. So we will all be faced with difficult situations in our lives, whether those are financial issues, whether those are family issues, issues at work or school. We're all going to face challenging times. But being able to manage your emotions effectively is key here. And that's not to say that you have to do it all on your own, right? If you can, that's awesome. But if you need help, reach out to people. Reach out to school counselors, reach out to family members, reach out to friends, reach out to therapists like myself if it's needed. You're not alone in learning how to manage your emotions, but being able to manage your emotions and being able to regulate and understand this is how I'm feeling, this is why I'm feeling it, and this is how I'm going to respond is key in order to be an emotionally intelligent person. So now that we've gone through that list of ways to know whether you are emotionally intelligent, you can engage in either like self-reporting tests to determine if you tick any of those boxes outlined prior, or you can speak with a mental health professional and have specific assessments conducted to determine your level of emotional intelligence. Two quick examples of that are the MSCEIT test and the Emotional and Social Competence Inventory. So the MSCEIT is an abilities-based test that measures the 4 branches that are designed to assess someone's ability to perceive, identify, understand, and manage emotions. So that's that test, while the other test, the Emotional and Social Competence Inventory, is based on an older instrument known as the self-assessment questionnaire, and that involves having people who know the individual offer ratings of that person's, abilities in several different emotional competencies. The test is designed to evaluate the social and emotional abilities that help distinguish people as strong leaders. So those are just some, just two quick examples that they can give you. And then, like I said, there's also self-reporting ways online that you could get involved with. So let's go to the next part of their presentation, which explores how to improve emotional intelligence and how to apply emotional intelligence in the real world. So without further ado, let's talk about ways to improve emotional intelligence. On the slide here, we have a handful of ways, and they include mindful observation, self-reflection, emotional regulation, empathy practice, conflict resolution skills, and seeking feedback. So becoming more emotionally intelligent is a journey that involves cultivating and practicing certain habits. So here, as I said, are 6 actionable steps to enhance your emotional intelligence. So the first one is mindful observation. You're going to start by noticing your own emotions. What feelings are you experiencing throughout the day, and what events trigger them? Mindfully observing your emotional responses provides insights into your emotional patterns and behaviors. So the next one is self-reflection. So after observing your emotions, reflect on why you reacted in a particular way. What was it about the event that triggered such a reaction? Understanding the why behind your emotions is a crucial step towards self-awareness. If you understand why you reacted certain ways, what triggered you, why you're responding, it's going to go a long way to improving your emotional intelligence. The next one is emotional regulation. So you're learning to control and manage your emotions because it's essential for everyday life. Strategies for emotional regulation might include deep breathing exercises, mindful practices, or cognitive behavioral techniques that help you respond to your emotions in a healthier and more constructive manner. The next one is empathy practice. So you try to understand things from others' perspectives. Next time you're in a conversation, try listening more than you speak and try to understand the other person's feelings and experiences. Developing empathy enhances your social awareness. The next one is conflict resolution skills. So you learn how to manage conflicts effectively. This involves clear communication, active listening, and finding a mutually beneficial resolution. Good conflict resolution skills are crucial for relationship management, whether that's in your personal relationships at home with your family and with friends or at work. So if you're able to clearly listen, clearly understand what's happening, and then find a solution for everyone, that really goes a long way to show how emotionally intelligent you are and to just be able to navigate relationships overall. And the last one here is seeking feedback. So you encourage others to give you feedback on how you handle emotions and social interactions. I know that can be a bit scary, but this can provide valuable insight and areas for improvement. Try your best to be open to feedback and willing to make the necessary changes. So just overall, remember, improving emotional intelligence is a journey. It's not a destination. The more you practice these steps, the more emotionally intelligent you will become. And finally, to conclude this presentation, let's take a look at real-world applications of emotional intelligence. So here we are practicing emotional intelligence in the real world, right? So what does that look like? So emotional intelligence can be used in many different ways in your daily life. Some different ways to practice emotional intelligence include this following list. Again, this is not comprehensive. This is just a few ways that you can practice it in your day-to-day life. So the first one, that we kind of just picked is being able to accept criticism and responsibility, right? So being able to get that constructive criticism and take accountability, take responsibility for the things that you do, that shows that you're emotionally intelligent. That shows that you're not going to push it off on somebody else. You're not going to deny things that you may have done. You own what you do and you keep it pushing. The next one, kind of like I said, is being able to move on after making a mistake. As we talked about before, mistakes are going to happen. It is inevitable. But not getting stuck and not getting frozen in that situation, is definitely going to be definitely a helpful way of building that emotional intelligence and showing it. Another one that's a big one that people sometimes have a hard time doing, but it's being able to say no when you need to, not being available for everyone all the time. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to be the person that's like, hey, you know what? At this point, I need to put myself first for something. I can't do it. There's nothing wrong with that. It shows that you're emotionally intelligent. It shows that you know what your needs are, and it shows that you're going to put them first so you can feel better, have your cup full so you can help other people. Another way is being able to share your feelings with others. Again, being able to express what's going on with you, what's happening inside of you, so you're not just shut down and closed off. That's a big thing because some people aren't able to do that. And if you're able to do that, it shows that you're understanding what's happening in yourself and you're willing to talk to people about it. Another one is being able to solve problems in a way that works for everyone, right? It's what we talked about in the previous slide. Finding mutually beneficial conflict resolution skills, something that works for everyone. It's not just you. It's not just focused on you. It's focused on everyone. Yes, you are a big part of it, but you're also taking into consideration other people's perspectives and other people's situations. Another one that we've talked about a lot in this presentation is having empathy for others. I think we've kind of figured out why that's important, but again, just to reiterate, it's being able to put yourself in other people's shoes and figuring out what would I do if that happened to me, and being able to relate to people and being able to have compassion for people. Another one is having good listening skills, being able to be proactive in conversations and your different types of relationships, being able to basically listen to what is being said, not just because you're listening to respond, but because you literally want to listen to what they're saying and you want to be able to provide feedback that's helpful for them. And you're really listening to what they want. Sometimes people want solutions. Sometimes people just want to be able to vent to you. So I think you've got to be able to decipher what that is. Again, it's reading the room, reading the situation, adapting to change, and that's what you'll be able to do. Another big one is knowing why you do the things that you do. I think that is a big one. If you don't know why you do certain things, that can be a problem because you're not regulated. You're not knowing what triggered you, why it's triggering you, what the origins might be. So knowing why you do certain things, that's really helpful to build that emotional intelligence. And the last big one that we came up with is not being judgmental of others. I think it's easy for us to have biases about what people are, who they are, what they're doing. But if we view people with a non-judgmental view, going with that mindset, I think we'll be able to kind of actually have conversations with people and understand what's going on. So essentially, emotional intelligence is essential for good interpersonal communication. Understanding emotions can be the key to better relationships, improved well-being, and stronger communication skills overall. So everyone, that is the end of this presentation on emotional intelligence. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking this journey with me. On this last page here, I have the references that I used to create this presentation. If you're looking for more information on anything that I said here, or if you're just looking to do your own research, these are pretty good things, pretty good resources that I found. And they'll definitely go into further depth about emotional intelligence and different types of case studies, and just basically what it is overall. If you do have any questions that you would like me to answer in particular, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Becky. You can reach out to me directly if you want to reach out to Inner Purpose, and then they can get a hold of me, and I can contact you. That works perfectly fine as well. Again, these are the resources I used, and if you have any questions for me directly, definitely feel free to reach out. So I hope you're able to learn some useful information on what emotional intelligence is, and how it is important in our daily lives. So I hope everyone, like I said, was able to learn some stuff. Definitely take care and good luck managing those emotions down the line.